Hey guys, this week on the Summit, we look at the Inner Geekdom title match between Jason Inman and Mark Donica. We also look at the singles #1 contenders match between Classy Clark Wolf and Mike the Killer Kalinowski. And we go over everything else happening in the Schmoedown. Let's go. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Take 3's Reactor Summit. I, of course, am not Kristen Smith. I am Matthew Kearns. Kristen could not be here today, so she put me in charge. Let's see how this train gets derailed. But, of course, thankfully for you guys, I'm not here alone. I am here with Take 3's own Malcolm Goldie Lay. How you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. Just looking forward to talking Schmoedown.
And we are joined by, he's been on the Summit a couple of times, pretty cool guy, and I apologize in advance for messing up his last name, Chris Alexakos.
That's correct. It's nice to be here, ready to talk Schmoedown.
All right, so we've had two great matches this week. Let's just dive into them. The first match we had on Tuesday was, of course, the Inner Geekdom title match between the champion, Jason Justice Inman, and the #1 contender, Mark the Enforcer Donica. Now, before the match, we had something that is becoming more regular to the Schmoedown as the storylines get more, as they get bigger, which was we had Ken Knapsack talking to Donica. Of course, Donica is now part of the Lion's Den. Watching this again in preparation for the Summit brought up a question to me before we get into the match, which is a lot of the way Ken was talking, things he was saying, felt like Tom was supposed to be there. And I feel like going back and looking, there's a lot of times when I feel like when Ken is on, it's supposed to have been Tom. So, and I'm not saying this in a bad way, do you guys think, is Ken Tom's understudy? When Tom is out filming music videos with Drake or is recruiting for the Lion's Den, is it Ken Knapsack's job to take over for him? Chris, I know you are a big Ken Knapsack fan. Am I crazy? Am I looking too into this? Or am I right?
Look, I think that Ken and Tom have two different distinct personalities, and I think they encapsulate two different sides of the den. In one hand, like Tom Dagnino is like the guy that's going to be a little bit more of the hype man. He's going to be the guy that brings like the power and the den domination aspect, that we're going to make you like the guy, the champion. Ken Knapsack is more of the guy that says to the person he's talking to, you need to fulfill your potential, you need to go against everyone else that deems that you're an underdog, you're someone that is not good enough. So I think they have a message that fulfills each other. I wouldn't say exactly that he's his understudy, but I would say that he takes the cues and he takes the ball from Tom Dagnino and runs with it.
Yeah, I understudy was really just quite literally lack of a better term. So it wasn't, if Mr. Knapsack is watching this, you know what? Understudies are people too. I was an understudy for a couple of plays when I was a kid. Malcolm, what do you think? Do you enjoy seeing Ken take over when Tom isn't there, doing kind of hype man type stuff that Tom is usually doing?
Yeah, I think that's probably correct. Because like a lot of the times, if Tom's not there, it's always Ken doing the hype and promos before the interviews. It's all like he's always the one that comes out if Tom's not there. So I mean, I think that that's part of the reason why I've recruited Ken. Is like, well, I need someone to take over being the hype man for me, and I will corrupt Ken and bring him in because he can talk just as much as I can.
Yeah, so let's get into the match. Of course, the first thing we have is the pre-match smack talk. I thought it was great in this match. Something interesting I did pick up on, I think a couple people did too, which is just a funny little thing I want to bring up. We don't really need to make a conversation about it, but hashtag, where'd Jeff go? Because if you watch the pre-match capture, Snyder's there with Donica, and then when they walk out, Jeff is just, he's out doing whatever Jeff does. Just a little funny thing I picked up on. But let's actually get into this match. So we start off in round 1. So Inman and Donica, they went pretty much tit for tat in this. They both, the first question they missed was the midichlorians question for Qui-Gon, which I knew because I'm a loser who watches The Phantom Menace a lot, even though I love the movie. And then Inman, he walks away with a 2-point lead going into round 2. He had a near perfect first round. So I want to talk to you guys before we get into round 2. Inman, as a competitor, I've always said is one of the best rounded inner geekdom performers. And I think this first round kind of proved that. I mean, being like literally the only question he missed was the Star Wars question that, like, yeah, if you don't really watch Phantom Menace and listen closely, you would miss it. Malcolm, what do you think about Inman's, I'll say, dominant first round performance? Do you think that gave him momentum going into the rest of the match?
I mean, like, yeah, it definitely does give a competitor momentum having an almost perfect round. I mean, like, I've always rated him as a competitor. I've always thought he's really knowledgeable in everything. I mean, like, he does have some gaps, because I don't think he knows that much about, like, Middle-earth movies or Lord of the Rings and stuff as much as the others. But I think with some of the questions, you can make an educated guess about it and get it right. So, I mean, a lot of them is probably pure skill, and a lot of them is probably guessing. So,
yeah, maybe it is. Chris, same question to you. Do you think Inman's performance in round 1, do you think that sort of propelled him to doing what he did in the rest of the match?
I really think that having a strong round 1, especially in a championship round, is a very good and solid foundation to go ahead and win the game. And what I really like about Inman as a competitor in general is the fact that even though he has some gaps in his knowledge and he's not a perfect player, he invests time into improving his skills and his knowledge, and also he knows how to play the game at this point, especially on that high level that is required for a championship match. So I think his performance on the first round, excluding some minor knowledge gap about how many midichlorians were in Anakin Skywalker, which a lot of people try to forget anyway, is forgivable. And I think he set the stage as far as what was going to follow.
I think that's a great point you bring up, that Inman is, especially with Inner Geekdom, he is one of these competitors who, when in post-match interviews, he says, I'm going to study this. You get this sense that he actually went home and he watched the movies again, or he read up on the movies again, which I think is one of the reasons why he has that belt and why I think he might hold on to it for a while. But we go into round 2. Even though Inman was in the lead, he let Mark Donica spin first. Donica first spins and lands on Star Trek, and I'm going to say smartly spins away from Star Trek. The respin lands on MCU, which works out in his favor. He comes out of that round with 8 points. Somehow, he was able to separate the multiple choice on the shield question, and we here at Take 3 would like to say, just applause for Emma Fyfe
yes.
Reading that. Applause to that. Then, of course, Jason Inman spins. He lands on... Okay. Sorry, Abe. Then Jason Inman goes up to spin. First, he lands on Lord of the Rings and chooses to spin away and lands on Star Wars, and he comes out with an 8-point lead. Chris, what were your thoughts on round 2? Both of these competitors had strong rounds.
Yes, I was surprised by Jason Inman doing so well in the Star Wars questions, even though he got, he guessed a little bit with the home one as far as Admiral Rados' ship. But Star Wars, Jason Inman was not known to be a Star Wars guy, a Star Wars fan, and even though we were expecting him to struggle maybe a little bit, he came out great on the second round, but that doesn't take away from Donika's performance in the MCU, a category he spun away from in the previous game. And I would say that was a good strategy at the time. And in general, I am not very fan of like the MCU category, mostly because it has been played out again and again, and the questions are starting to get a little bit more in depth, which for someone that is not 100% comfortable, that might be his doom. But I say that both competitors played well on the second round. I think that Donika had a couple more difficult questions, but all in all, I would say that both competitors performed admirably, and if they continued that way, the match would be way more close than it was eventually.
Yeah, I think round two was great. I think it showed, round two kind of showed why this is a championship match for me. It showed they really didn't falter that much in their categories. You can chalk that up to its categories that are in their favor, but you know what? The Schmoedown is just as much about, especially in round two, we've seen a lot of times just because it's a category that doesn't always mean you're going to perform amazing. That's the luck part. Malcolm, what did you think of these dominant performances in round two from both Inman and Donika?
Oh, I mean, it was both great. They both picked. They both stuck with, showed their guns and showed how good they are in those categories. And I probably would have done what Mark did for the Shield question, went to multiple choice, because you get one word wrong in that, then you've stuffed the whole thing up. So, but yeah, I mean, they both showed why they're really good, and I'm pretty sure when Jason was spinning away from Lord of the Rings, I'm pretty sure he was probably aiming for Star Trek as opposed to Star Wars, but he did well in the category he got, so I mean, there's nothing much to add.
Yes, I was upset too that he didn't get Star Trek. I love Star Wars, but I also like to, when I'm on Reactors, like to show off my Star Trek knowledge as well. But let's go on to round three, the betting round, of course. The wheel lands on Lord of the Rings. Inman and Donika both bet 2 points and lose them on the question. There's not really a lot to talk about with round three. It's really, I think, when it comes to championship matches, it is the most luck-based of all of them, because it's really just like you get the category, you put down a point value, and it could be a super hard question or it could be a super easy question. You really don't know. Let's move on to round four, the speed round. Inman just dominated this speed round. He walked away with 4 points. Donika only walked away with 5 points, which brings up the talking point that I believe we brought up before, but I think watching this match, it's again something to bring up, which is, should players or this is just my question, should players in number one contender matches have a speed round added onto the match to practice for the upcoming championship match? Because we've seen time and time again, people who have been in championship matches before tend to perform a lot better in speed rounds. So maybe in the number one contender match, like in this case, in Donika Habon having a speed round, to maybe not, to more even the odds of the speed round. Malcolm, what are your thoughts? Am I a crazy person for thinking this?
No, I mean, I've always thought that a number of contenders match, they should probably have the number of contenders as the championship format, so they get used to both the speed and the betting rounds, and so they can't not like going in blind if they're going in for the first time. But I mean, it's one of those ones that, like, even if you're well seasoned at it, you could get someone, Sam Levine, who may never have been there before, who can buzz quite quickly with the best of them. So, I mean, I think Jeremy Jahns in one of the indicator matches, that wasn't a title match, I think when they did the speed rounds in the 5-ways, then he did really well in that, and he'd never been in a championship match, so it's one of those things that you never really know.
So, Chris, are you on the same fault line as me and Malcolm, where you think they should adopt the speed round into number one contender matches, or do you think it's up to the person who wins that number one contender match going to the speed round to work on that on their own?
I am of the opinion that they should not change the format, and I think that they should not change the format mostly because it gives a distinct advantage to the champion, and the champion has earned some kind of advantage in the long run. And I think that the betting round is a cool round, but there is not a lot of it doesn't make a big difference like the speed round makes usually. So I think that the people that have actually went up there to that level, they should have some kind of advantage. It breaks my heart because the Patriots have defeated top 10 like 25 times with the fucking speed round. Sorry about the F-bomb. But you know, it's the nature of the game, right? If you get better at the speed round, you have a distinct advantage that might keep you champion for a long time, and that's an advantage that the champion deserves at the bottom line, in my opinion at least.
Chris, it's okay. That was our Magneto in the forest scene from X-Men Apocalypse. We get the one in a PG-13. Sorry, Abe. Chris, you do bring up a great point that I didn't think of, which is you are champion. Maybe you should be given a little bit more of an advantage because you made it through that upper echelon. You fought your way. That is a great point. There are great sides. You know what? We want you guys in the comments. What do you think when it comes to the speed round? I see you guys on the MTS page talk about this a lot. So why don't you talk about it in our YouTube comments here? But of course, the speed round leads us into round 5. Inman goes in with a 5-point lead. Danica gets his 2-pointer, but misses his 3-pointer, which was the Star Wars question about what Qui-Gon described as an odd move. The answer was the invasion of Naboo. Now, Danica challenged that, and he loses the challenge because he said the blockade. Now, we don't know what the conversations were. Chris Liski kindly tagged, he didn't tag, he put in our comment section the scene in question. I actually went back, watched the scene. Qui-Gon does specifically say, Obi-Wan says an invasion army, and Qui-Gon says that's an odd move for the Trade Federation. So it's very specific what he was talking about. Also, just going to throw this in there for American history. We didn't invade Cuba during the Cuban Missile Crisis. We blockaded them. They are two different things.
They are different things. There's no way around it.
Yeah, I don't even think it's worth. Like, they're two different things, and it's not like it's a sort of what did Qui-Gon think. It's like it's specifically like the line is said.
If it's a quote in the movie, then it is what it is.
Exactly, it's a quote in the movie, and of course, Danica misses his 5-pointer, and Jason Inman wins this title match by TKO and retains his belt. Good on Jason Inman. Now we go into the post-match interviews. Now, first thing I want to talk about here is this was not brought up in the post-match interviews, but Jason Inman, just an interesting point, used no JTE rules, no repeats throughout the entirety of the match. Now, yes, he didn't go into his 5th round, but I think for a guy who retained his belt, that's a pretty cool thing. But of course, in the post-match interviews, Jason Inman talked about how he wants future challengers to go up against big league players before getting to him, which brings up the question of Jason and I brought up a couple of names, but Malcolm, who do you actually? I think I went to Malcolm last. Sorry, Abe. Chris, who would you say right now are the big league players that newer competitors should have to go up against before getting to Inman? In your opinion, who are they?
Well, in my opinion, the problem of the Inner Geekdom League is that it doesn't have too many big league players. Rachel Cushing, it was always and will always be, in my opinion, one of the players that is up there. She didn't. I'm assuming that she doesn't want to compete anymore for like a while. Relaxing in her Sire Wolves and singles career after the loss to Sam Levine. But other than that, this is what Christian, in my opinion, tries to build. Is a league that has more people, and eventually people are going to fight it out amongst themselves. People like Hector Navarro. I think it's a scheduling issue more likely than not, and the same with Robert Meyer Burnett. But I wanted to finish up by saying something. Inman, he says that he didn't use a JTE rule, and he didn't officially, but he asked for a clarification on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie question, which Emma repeated the whole question, and he didn't get charged the JTE rule, which, technically he did not get one. But, you don't get to brag when you ask for a question, a repeat, and then you don't get charged with a JTE role. Because I also saw that in the comment section in the Movie Trivia Schmoedown group, that someone also bragged about that for Inman, which, doesn't make any difference in the end, but I'm just saying.
It's okay. I just like bragging on competitors' behalfs because I want them to like me.
Yeah.
Malcolm, I'm not lying. Malcolm, who would you say are some of the big league competitors in Inner Geekdom that, according to Jason Inman, a newer competitor should fight before getting to him?
Well, I think the big league ones is probably going to be. You've probably got the big futures Cushing, Navarro, and Robert Meyer Burnett. They're definitely up there. I'd consider Donica's just about there. Like, he's not as that well rounded though, and Adam Halevic. I don't think I said his name right, but he that 5-way he was really good as well. Because he gave Mark a run for his money in that one. So I think those are some of the big ones. But not too long after that, Christian actually said on the post he's planning in a Geekdom tournament sort of thing, like 5 one-on-one matches, and the winner of all those goes into a 5-way.
We're going to talk about that later. It's okay. Yeah, you guys kind of already brought up who I thought, but I think Chris did bring up the great point that I was thinking, which is the Inner Geekdom League is very young compared to the other leagues, and so it's very difficult right now to have this is a big league player. You should have to play them. I think as we get later on, that will be a lot easier to decide. But Inman also brought up the fact that he would like to play Rachel Cushing and Mike Kalinowski at a certain point, but again, he added that they need to earn their shot. So right now, he hasn't really quite called out anyone. I think Inman really just kind of wants the best to come to him. Of course, in Mark Donica's post-match interview, he talks about how he wants to come back soon, and specifically he challenged Jay Washington to an Inner Geekdom match. So, Malcolm, are you hoping this match happens? And if it does, who are you rooting for right now?
Yeah, I do hope this match does happen. And I think, like, anyone that gets officially called out in the post-match interviews, I think those matches do end up happening. And I think Mark will probably beat Jay. I mean, I want Jay to win because I don't want the Lions to do it at all. But but I do think Mark will win that one anyway.
So, Chris, I know you're a huge Ken Napzok fan, but I'm not sure if you're a big Lions Den fan. So, in this match, who would you be leaning towards?
I'm not a huge Lion Dance fan for sure, but I'm not from Chicago, but I live in Chicago, and Jay Washington is from Chicago, so there is some connection there, at least partly. I would definitely want Jay Washington to win. I'm not sure if on a head-to-head it's easy to identify a clear winner or like clear favorite from the beginning, but I would definitely prefer Jay Washington to beat Mark Dunning.
Jay is slowly becoming like one of my favorite competitors, so I really just want to see him get back in there, and especially in Inner Geekdom, because I know he knows his stuff. He's shown it before. So I would like to, even though I like Donica, and I think playing Jay Washington, because I think if Donica has a couple more matches, I think he could give whoever is holding the belt at that time a run for their money. But of course, we have another great post-credit scene. This time we have Andrew Guy, who is still boasting about beating Merle. This time he does it to the great Dorian Parks, who I don't know how they planned this stuff out, but just Guy and Dorian did like Dorian's little bit when Guy walks away and he's just like, damn, Merle sees this, he's gonna be pissed. So this brings up the question, which is, are they building to something? And if so, what are they building to? Chris, do you think they're building towards something?
I don't know. It's such a weird story. I mean, I'm assuming that they're teasing the return of Dan Merle for like some kind of way. But like, what? Dan Merle is gonna come back and play like Andrew Guy. You know, Andrew is a good player, but like, you know, when Dan Merle comes back, I would like to see him like come in with a more higher caliber of opponent. And Andrew Guy, you know, he doesn't even have a lot of singles experience. He should not go against Dan Merle. But that being said, I think that's where it goes. I think the end result is going to be Dan Merle returning. I don't know what the connection is going to be with Andrew, but you know, I think that's what's going to happen, like the Undertaker in WWE.
Honestly, I hope nothing comes of this. I really hope it's just something that Andrew they did that at Free For All 2. They had no plans for it, and they still have no plans for it, and they're just kind of like, we get a laugh out of Andrew running around saying it. So that's where I'm at. I mean, also, if it means we still get Andrew Guy in more Schmoedown stuff, I'm more fine with it. Because he's hilarious. And Dorian, Dorian was great in this book. You know what I do want? I want more Dorian, because he's got a real dry sense of humor. I really want him to do more like kind of reaction things of post-credits and just someone doing something crazy and you just see Dorian like, okay, like from his desk. Malcolm, do you think they're building towards the return Dan Merle, or is it simply Andrew Guy is just going crazy and they're just capturing on camera?
Yeah, I mean, I think they weren't planning anything at the free-for-all, but I think with the reaction that they got from that, I think they are working towards Dan coming back, even if it's just one last match. But I think overall, I think the end game is for in a post-credit scene, Dan will turn up behind someone who's like, "You're talking shit about me. I've never played you before. You have to play me to say that you beat me." And ultimately, I think that's the end goal, is for Dan to come back, face Andrew Guy, and either say that he's officially retiring, or that this is the return and he's coming back with a vengeance.
I mean, personally, just as a Team Action fan, I want Dan Merle to come back, challenge Andrew Guy, and then somehow Andrew Guy beats Dan Merle, and it's just breaks on your brackets, people.
Yeah.
And I'll be celebrated. But enough talking about this Inner Geekdom match, because we had a great number one contender single match between Classy Clark Wolf and Mike Kalinowski. I know I called him Killer earlier. Sorry, old habits die hard with a vengeance. But first, we start off with a pre-match scene in which Lon Harris talks to Cobster. It's this great bit where he's kind of over the cubicle, kind of just like talking about this upcoming match all at once, and then it pans down, and Cobster is not sitting there. This brings up the point of two things. One, is this trying to say that the Cobster match might not be happening? Or is this more just a confusion of what is Lon's plan in the Schmoedown? Malcolm, what is Lon's plan in the Schmoedown?
I think his plan is to get a lot of competitors who may not have played as much before, or maybe players that he's watched before, and they've stuffed up on a few questions here or there that he thinks they shouldn't. think it's more him wanting to play them, to groom them and make them better than what they are.
Okay, Chris, this is a crazy point. Do you think Lon Harris has a vendetta against the Wangers? Is that why he's going after all the Wangers?
I don't think so. I mean, I think they're placing him as like this really quirky kind of character in the Schmoedown, and he plays that part really well. That's good. I think that's part of the whole I'm talking to no one and I'm acting a little bit crazy. But I think that eventually he's going to ramp up the difficulty of the matches. But I think at the moment, Lon Harris is in the enjoyment of watching them play and watching their beat area, like the Wildberries and some other competitors. Even though he's way more knowledgeable than some other competitors, we're more enjoying him play at the moment rather than taking him 100% seriously for like a title.
Of course. And so just a talking point I wanted to bring up was Mark Ellis brought up the fact that Mike Kalinowski, after the triple threat #1 contenders at the beginning of the season, left and did not do his post-match interview. Which brings up a point to me, which is, we know a lot of these competitors, Mike Kalinowski is one of them, take the Schmoedown very seriously. And when they lose big matches, this affects them, and sometimes they don't want to talk about this. Was what Mike did wrong? Do you think win-lose, you should always have to do a post-exit interview, even if you have a Brianne Chandler to be able to talk on your behalf? If a loss affected you, very difficult. Chris, do you think competitors, no matter what, should always have to do the post-match interview?
I mean, it doesn't make a difference to me personally. I love this kind of loyalty to, not loyalty, but you have a belief that you want to make it and you earn your shot, and you're devastated when that happens, that you cannot talk in front of a camera. That happens to a lot of competitors. Eventually everyone else has come back and given a post-match interview. But I like that deeply seated emotion of wanting to prove yourself, wanting to win, that sometimes drives you a little bit on the extra step of not giving the interview. But as a rule, there is a reason that there is this specific structure to the matches, the pre-match interview, the match, and the post-match interview. So, as a rule of thumb, I would say they should, more likely than not.
Yeah, Malcolm, do you think that competitors, no matter what, should always do a post-match interview?
Yeah, I mean, I think they should, but I mean, if they've got like a manager or a Brienne, whatever that pairing is going to end up being in the long run, then, and if it's because I mean, I can understand why Mike was pissed off at that performance specifically, because I mean, it was his worst performance he actually had, and there's probably a lot of questions that he missed that he should have gotten, and he was just so pissed off about it he just couldn't talk about it. So I think if you've got a hype person, then I don't mind it too much. But if it's just you and without a faction or manager or someone there, then you should probably do it regardless.
Yeah, I'm on the thought line of if you were there by your, and I'm saying all the time, cases say, Mike took that loss very difficult. He took that very hard, and he had Brienne to do it. I think in that case it was fine. You know what? Just like to talk about all things Schmoedown, as we say, and that's part of the Schmoedown. But let's actually get into the match. Round one happens. It's again a very close round one. Mike ends up walking away with a 1-point lead. Malcolm, what did you think about this first round between Clark and Mike?
Yeah, I mean this was a very close first round, and I mean it did break my heart that Mike used up a lot of repeats in that first round and didn't save them for later. Whether or not they would have helped him later on, who knows? But I mean, as a rule of thumb, unless you really need to, you should try not to use repeats in the first round at least.
Yeah, so Chris, I want your thoughts on this round one, but Malcolm also brings up the great point. Do you think Mike misused his JTE rules by using 2 of them in round one?
I wouldn't say that he misused them specifically. I am generally more in favor of using a JTE rule when you are really close to having an answer and you just need that extra little bit of time to get it, which is understandable. You know, sometimes you just don't know if you are 100% sure about the answer. But I don't like using a JTE rule and not getting the answer after the fact, which is what happened twice with Mike Kalinowski's. I mean, he wasted them, but the general idea behind the way he used them might have been correct. I'm not a proponent of specifically keeping them for something like the third round or something like that. I'm a proponent of the correct use. If you think you can get the answer, then use them whenever you think you can get the answer. Any points added up in your score is a bonus either way, especially if you wouldn't get them otherwise. But before I finish up my thoughts on the first round, I wanted and I need to talk about the entrance of Clark Wolf with Mark and Draco and the Charlie's Angels. That was amazing. And I want to finish up with that. It was one of the best entrances that I've seen in a while for an endless Schmoedown.
It really was. I apologize that I skipped that in my notes, guys. But that the Fife Club is killing it with the entrances. That was great. That was a great entrance. I think too. I'm not one of these people who says you should save them for rounds 2 and 3. I think use them when you feel you need that extra second to think, when you have it on the tip of the tongue, or you need it to write down, because matches can sometimes be as odd as it is. And I know, and this only comes from watching Schmoedown matches a lot and watching them again. Sometimes that 1 or 2 points you get in round 2 ends up being the reason why you're able to miss your 2-pointer in round 3, which is what leads you to winning, or something like it doesn't always happen, but there are times that it does. So use JTE rules. They're your friends. They're here to help you whenever. But of course, we go into round 2. Mike Kalinowski chooses to spin first. He lands on Dramas first and chooses to respin and lands on Spielberg. He ends up walking away with only 6 points. The only question he missed was who composed Bridge of Spies, and Clark was not able to capitalize on that. Then Clark Wolf went up and, of course, spun Horror Thriller, which I think even Mike got really scared, and she walked away with 8 points. And an interesting thing to bring up on both of these competitors' behalves, multiple choice was not used in any of their cases. Again, I'm just bringing up interesting points. That's not saying anything about, their confidence or but Chris, what did you think about round 2? Do you think I'm trying to figure out how to say this. Do you think that because we're seeing people, and Clark even talked about on Twitter today, which is people trying to say that because a competitor lands on something they put down as a strength, that automatically means they're going to get all the points. And I think that's unfair. I think we've seen a lot of time with Ben and Drew in Team Action, where a lot of people say, oh, you got Action Adventure. Why did you not get all the points? So what did you think about round 2? And then also, do you think round 2 proves how much luck exists in the Schmoedown? Where even if you get a category you're strong in, doesn't always mean you walk away with 8 points.
In my opinion, the movie Trivia Schmoedown is a game of knowledge, and you have more knowledge in some categories than the others. And also, you have more pressure in some categories than the others. So when you get a category that you're supposedly, and I'm putting on bunny ears here, supposedly you're better than another category, then you have double the pressure to perform. And of course, you know more about that category, and Clark proved it in this case. But it's never given, in my opinion, that you're going to get all the points. I want to say that I was really impressed with Mike Kalinowski's performance in the second round. He got a category that can range from a movie that Spielberg directed to who was the director of photography in one of his movies, to who played that and what was the plot. Director categories are very wide range. Have a very wide range. He performed admirably. He didn't use any of his multiple choice, and he shouldn't have used it. His guess on John Williams was a reasonable one, and I would say that I was impressed with his performance. Of course, Clark proved that she knows horror, and that's one of her strengths. I wouldn't say that it's unfair that she got horror again, but if you have a specific strength, you get to use it, and that's how it goes.
I agree. I don't think it's unfair. I mean, it's not like Ken and Mark Ellis are like, hey, Clark, we're going to give you horror in round 2. Like, she spun, and she landed on a strength of hers, and she took it. The same thing any of you commenters bad talking it would do. If I landed on Star Wars or Indiana Jones or Kurt Russell, you bet I'm going to take them. And I do agree with you that I think Mike performed very well in a category that can be very broad, especially with a director like his. I don't think we've seen it, but you could even argue movies he's produced could be questions. And, and I also, you see it in our reaction, I even thought Bridge of Spies was a John Williams score, like anyone would, because they work together so often. So, Malcolm, what did you think about round 2 in this match?
Well, I mean, they both performed great at it. When Mike got Spielberg, I didn't know how well he would do it, because I never saw it as a strength of his. But, I mean, he proved that he does know some. He does have some knowledge on it anyway. And I mean, Clark getting horror, I mean, of course she was going to do well in it. I mean, the fact that she got them all without multiple choice is even more incredible. So, I mean, she's had questions trip her up before, and sometimes it's a matter of having one in your mind, but thinking having 2 options and multiple choice can possibly eliminate one of those 2 options in your head quite easily. So,
yeah. So we move on now to round 3. Mike Kalinowski is trailing, so he has to go first. Misses his 2-pointer, but gets his 3-point question, which sends the match back to Clark. Clark gets her 2-pointer and misses her 3-pointer to tie it up with Mike, and they both get their 5-pointer, sending the match into sudden death, which sadly only lasts 1 round, and Clark Wolf walks away victorious. Malcolm, what did you think of the end of this match, round 3 and the speed round?
This last match, it was interesting. I mean, and it was one of those ones that I can't remember what Mike's 3-point question was, but I was looking at it thinking it's really hard. It should probably have been a 5-point question, but I mean, that aside, they both did well for the question I was given, and unfortunately Mike mistook Mr. McGorium's Wonder Poem for Mr. Popper's Penguin and put the wrong answer down. So,
in response to your question, he missed his 2-pointer, and his 3-pointer was the Edge of Tomorrow. What was the color of the monsters that Emily Blunt and Tom Cruise fight? Which I was like, what? But hey, you know what? Listen, they choose the difficulties. Chris, what did you think about round 3 and the speed round in this match?
Again, I was ready to start complaining about the difficulty of the questions, but then, as I was thinking about the round as a whole, I realized, it's not that Clark got any easier questions. Just that specifically, his Mike's round 2 with the Witches of Eastwick question. It's not like a typical round 2 easy question. And the second question about the light of the aliens was downright a really difficult one. It could have even been like a 5-pointer in my opinion. But both Mike was impressive in the third round, and Clark was really good. She missed the question about the koala, I think, but both getting their 5-pointers is something that rarely happens. So I was impressed with the result. All in all, it was a close-fought match. It went down to sudden death. It's the best-case scenario for someone that watches the Schmoedown, so I'm not going to complain about anything. Clark proceeded to go to the final, to the championship match with Sam Levine, but I think that Mike Kalinowski should be really proud of his performance in general.
Yeah, I really loved round 3. I think it was very close, nail-biting, and just something funny that I picked up on was Clark Wolf's 3-pointer that she missed was who plays the koala in Sing, which of course was Matthew McConaughey. Then
yes,
Mike's 5-pointer was for Matthew McConaughey, and the answer was Bill Paxton, who is in Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Funny little connections that
Yes.
we make in the Schmoedown that are not intentional, but stuff people like me pick up on. So we go to the post-match interviews in which during Clark, Sam interrupts. I use bunny ears because Sam never really interrupts. And he's looking forward to a great match with Clark, a rematch, which of course Clark brought up the fact that she does not think that beating Sam in the past guarantees a victory, which brings up the point of I think she is totally right in this. I think people too many times assume, well, such and such has beaten this person once before. That means they're guaranteed a victory because, as Clark talked about, since that match, which was like June, July of 2016, Sam has grown as a competitor, as has she. So you kind of have to see. Chris, what are your thoughts on what Clark has brought up?
I agree with Clark, and I think that whenever you face someone after a long time, something might have changed. Clark was going through her impressive rookie year, and Sam was going through his mediocre second year, or I think it was his first year in the Schmoedown. But again, as we discussed earlier, there's a difference when you're playing with the champion. These are the 2 more rounds that you have to deal with. And Clark, the last championship match that she had was against Dan Muro, of course, who is like a beast on here by himself. Again, the tricky speed round is something that can trip you up. But as the 5 Club said, they're going to focus on building her speed round skills and buzzer pressing skills up because knowledge and having a quick release on your information is good, but also it's some technical quality of pressing this buzzer correctly at the correct angle, and for it to buzz first. The collider buzzers and the Schmoedown buzzers have been tricky opponents for many people in the past. So it's an art of its own.
Yes, and you bring up that's one of the points, which is the Fight Club thankfully says they are going to be practicing the buzzers with Clark. Malcolm, so do you agree with Clark that you don't think that because she beat Sam in the past, this guarantees her victory? And how are your feelings on the fact that the Fight Club is going to practice with Clark in the speed round? Do you think it's going to help at all against someone like Sam Levine?
Well, yeah, I mean, to go for the first point, I don't think just because someone's beaten someone before means they're guaranteed a victory before, because I think JDE made that same mistake when he was playing Roke on the live feed. He was going, I've beaten you before, I'll beat you again, and we all know what happened there. So, but I mean, with Fight Club practice with the buzzers, I mean, it's going to be a hard job going up against Sam for the buzzers anyway. They don't say that he should be called the Flash for a reason. And, he's just really good at the buzzer, so I mean they're going to need to do a lot of work to get that up.
Yes, they're definitely going to have to do a lot of buzzer work. So we leave that post-match interview and go to Mike Kalinowski's. Mike was very proud of his performance, as I think he should be. I mean, he took this match all the way to sudden death. But something he talked about was that it was hard for him that the crowd was not on his side. He talked about the fact that, and that's not to say the crowd was booing him, but he brought up the fact that he looked down into the crowd and his people weren't there. Most people there were rooting for Clark to win, which, by the way, all you people out there, Brianne Chandler had family things. Stop going after Brianne on social media saying, why weren't you there? Leave the woman alone, okay? Just saying that. But this brings up the point, Malcolm. Do you think this, and I'm not saying there should be no crowds. There should be crowds. But do you think that when the crowd is really sort of rooting for your opponent, do you think that affects the competitor who they're not rooting for in a negative way?
I don't think it affects them in a negative way per se. I think it's more that they can be disheartened about it, but and also I think it's a case of sometimes it can also drive you as like, well, most of the crowd's for Clark, so I'm going to try and do my best and prove them wrong, and which is probably what helped him do as good as he did. Is like, and I think, I don't know who it was, but I think some people are saying that it was actually John Roker that was the only one on Mike's side in that match. So yeah.
Talk about that later. You're very smart, Malcolm. I love you, but you bring up points that have in my notes at a later date. So, Chris, do you think that this is something that if do you think this affects competitors who the crowd is not on their side, or you think kind of like Malcolm that drives them to win?
I think it's inherently problematic with people that are faces, because the heels are used to getting booed and people not loving them. But when you have two faces facing each other, if I say then the word face again, interrupt me please. If you have two people that are faces playing against each other, it's difficult for someone to look into the crowd when they usually get applauded and people are rooting for them, to see a crowd that's it wasn't hostile, but it was right there in the middle, right? They didn't cheer for them. There was some sparring applause. So I think that might have downed Mike Kalinowski a little bit. I have sensed that there were some people that were on his side, and we might discuss that a little bit later. But I think that it's an unfortunate thing, but it will happen from time to time.
I think you bring up a great point, which is this is more likely to happen in a face-versus-face situation than a, like, let's look at Patriots. The Patriots, by this point, are so used to the boos, to the fact where they love them. Team Action is used to the boos. Tom Dagnino is used to the boos. But when you get a guy like Mike Kalinowski, who is used to the applause, he's used to being... Because most people, when it's face versus heel, tend to side with the heel. They want the good guy to win. And in this case, you had two good guys, or good guy and good girl. And yeah, I kind of tear for Mike. But Mike does talk about he keyed in on someone in the audience who was, and it's someone who he said he wouldn't have fought. They've never fought before, he said. So it's I really hope he puts a little graphic. It's speculation time on the summit. Chris, who do you think Mike is talking about?
I think, and I heard a couple of shouts from the crowd, and I definitely identify my hero's voice, John Steven Roca, and I'm fairly confident that this is where the story is going, at least, that I have a feeling that Mike might be one of the new horsemen. Again, I am not entirely sure how much of this conversation was real and how much was kayfabe. Sometimes I understand that this is a real problem, especially with faces, but you know, he knew that Brienne was not going to be there. He knew that probably some of his friends, real life friends, might not have scheduling issues. I don't think that was like a very specific, jab at them. But that might have been storyline driven. And if it was storyline driven, I think that's where the signs are pointing at, that Mike Kalinowski might be the third horseman.
Yes, that is one of them floating around. Malcolm, who do you think Mike was talking about?
Well, I mean, I did say it earlier, but I think John. It was most definitely John Roca who was off, as well as whether, and I think it is going to lead to maybe create a storyline with the league where he turns on the league because they weren't there to support him and all that, and it leads to him joining the Four Horsemen. Whether or not they're going to be back to being a heel faction or if they're going to be a face, who knows, really.
Yeah, who really knows? So I got three theories about this. The one is because we did hear Roca when it was who directed Easy Rider, and Mike had Dennis Hopper and then changed it, and you clearly hear it's Roca going, "Don't doubt yourself." So that's one. But I got two other ones for you. Okay, let me leave this. The first one is the guy who's sitting there in a well-made suit, Gucci shoes, and a briefcase with shades on. It's the boss. Boss was sitting there. Ben Bateman, Team Action. Because if Mike is going to turn heel, I wanted to go to the best heel team. But the other one, and you know what, this is crazy, it's out there, but it was... he goes by many names: Wyatt Earp, Herb Brooks, Snake Plissken. It was Kurt Russell. Kurt Russell was there. And he was looking at Mike.
Yes.
He was like, "Mike, I'm Kurt Russell, and I'm supporting you." Because my wild fantasies is Kurt Russell just shows up to Collider and just watches matches, and he just watches. And he's waiting. He's waiting for his time.
If that happened, I don't think that Mike Kalinowski would be complaining that no one else in the studio was supporting him. He would be like, you know what? It's Kurt Russell. I'm covered for the day. I don't want anyone else to support me.
I would too. If everyone else was applying for Clark, wherever, and Kurt Russell, I'd be like,
yeah, you know what? I have Kurt Russell. You have everyone else. You can have everyone else.
Cool. You have the Fife Club. I have Kurt Russell. No, but I just want Kurt Russell to be in a match. Make it happen. I don't know how you make that happen, but I want you to make it happen. And that's not elitist. That's just Don't you want, you know what? Don't you want Kurt Russell versus Bruce Campbell in a Schmoedown match?
Yes.
Come on. Thank you. Okay. So we go to our post-credit scene, which this is a great one. The Kingsmen are being very posh and British around Claire Studios, and they run into Ellie Dewberry, who is eating popcorn while reading the back of Bagel Bites, and they go at it a bit, and this is great. And of course, it has been announced today, actually, that May 8th, Wildberries vs. Kingsmen is going to be a match, and I think this was a great way to set up that match. Malcolm, what were your thoughts on this post-credit scene?
This was just ridiculous fun and just entertaining to watch. I kind of want to know like how much more crazy it would have gotten if Josh McCougar was there as well. I mean, at first I didn't realise it was the Kingsmen until I saw that one of them had one side of their glasses coloured in, so that's kind of how I recognised it was them. But yeah, that should be a fun match, and I mean, it would be interesting to see if Wildberries can continue getting more wins now, so they can face the Patriots, because they can't get all losses now. So,
listen, this post-credit scene was hilarious. That insurance line killed me from Dewberry, and also this to me proved how much I love the fact that Elliot Dewberry made a face turn in the Schmoedown. I know Abe misses Team ETC, but I like face Dewberry with the Wildberries so much more than heel, and this just proved it. How he's like, I'm going to speak on behalf of my partner, Josh Kugo's not here. Wildberries. And he's just like, you're right, pizza is pizza. He's talking about the bagel. Like, Chris, what did you think about this post-credit scene?
Give me anything Wildberries, and I'm going to be content. So I want to see them doing these like middle of the road matches that they can have fun and there are no high stakes. It's just like blown out, amazing fan. Like in the free for all, both Wildberries were like amazing. So the live event too, and in general, I've ordered my Wildberry shirt. This is the only shirt that I've ordered other than the Team Top 10. So it's like money well spent right there.
You can see a great Wildberries t-shirt ad if you go and you watch our Trip to Free For All video, which was a unexpected and a lot of fun to film. So let's go into the next week's matches.
From the Internet Take 3, well, I'm Abe, and I'm here for your necessary transition, because we were able to see it with Mike Kalinowski from the Schmoedown, and Matt didn't transition to it, so I say, oh, let's do a transition, so let's jump it back to Matt.
Hey guys, I'm here with Mike K.O. Kalinowski to talk about his #1 contenders match against Clark Wolf. Mike, thanks so much for doing this.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Alright, so I want to start off, you talked about in your pre-match interview, Smack Talk, that you weren't going 100% into this match. You weren't having a big entrance. Do you think that helped you focus more in the match?
Absolutely. You guys, all my matches, I've always kind of done something, but haven't really let it go through the whole match. And then the whole three-way with JT and Rachel, we did this whole Sylvester Stallone thing, and I was just playing up the character, and it was just, it just wasn't me, and I was just trying to have fun with it, but it just, it didn't work to me, for me personally. So I had to, going into this, I was very surprised that they asked me to go have the shot at this with Emma and all that. So I was like, you know what, I took some time off from competing and kind of refocused with what worked. So I didn't want to go with any, theatrics or anything.
So you had a great round 1 and round 2. Did that help your confidence going into the last round?
Absolutely. It was, Because that three-way, I'll say it was my worst match I've ever had. It was terrible. I didn't even make it to the third round. There was a couple of times I was getting a little frazzled, but I think I normally don't wear the sunglasses the whole match. I used to do that, but I think I'm going to start doing that because it just helped me focus. It just kind of brought everything in. Round 2, it was Spielberg, which is not I wouldn't say it's a strength, but it's not a weakness. But I did better than I thought I would. I mean, not better than I thought I would. I was very happy with the way I did. I should have gone multiple choice on that last one. But I know John Williams would have been in there.
Yeah.
And the multiple choice, and I would have picked it anyway. And then that would have knocked out 3 for Clark, or 1 for Clark. She would have gone between 3. And then, at that point, I didn't want to give her the points. So I was just like, I'll take it,
So, did you get nervous at all when Clark spins and she gets horror filler?
Before every match, depending on face, I always go back and watch their old matches. Not for just to see strengths and weaknesses and stuff like that. It's just a good tool to have. I mean, we've seen it happen where I forgot who it was against Top 10. I think it was it above that?
It was Top That.
Top That. They didn't know about biopics, and we're all in the audience and we're sitting there going, "What are they doing? What are they doing?" So you have to watch the matches. You have to, if you're a competitor, you have to watch them. But I had heard about Clark's luck with the wheel, and then I saw all the past matches, and to see her get it, I don't think the camera was on me, but I was upset. But I know Clark's getting a lot of flack for that right now, and it's not fair because it is out of any round. And I've heard people say, the games are fixed, this and that, and it's not. I mean, yeah, the 2, the 3, the point, and the 5 point at the very third round, we're kind of dealing with that right now. Like, what's a 2 point? What's a 5 point? We've seen some that, we'll get to it in our match here, but round 2, it's up to the competitor. The questions could be different. What's considered a 2 point question, but what questions we get, it's our spin. It's up to us. So Clark could spin horror for the rest of her career, every single time, or she'll never spin it again. So it's, it sucked. It really sucked to see that happen. Seeing that I was up by 1 going into it. But, she did great. That's her thing, so.
So round 3, really specifically, we just want to talk about Edge of Tomorrow. Like, what made you, because my reaction, I went black. I haven't seen that movie in a while. I just went black. What made you go blue?
Because I remember, and I don't know why, they scanned him when they're flying to the Louvre at the end there. They're going to, that's where the base is, and they tracked him as blue on, I believe it was a monitor they had, but I didn't, it was blue or red. It was either blue or red. And I forgot, the question was what color they were, or was it what color the queen was?
Yeah, it was the color they were.
What color they were. And is the queen like red maybe? I don't remember. It was blue or red. I had a 50-50 chance at it. In that whole movie, blue stood out to me. It was, it was a guess. Yeah. I mean, it was a planned out guess. So it was 1 of 2 for me.
Did you just have to laugh with the fact that Clark's 5-pointer or her 3-pointer, the answer was Matthew McConaughey. You said it, and then immediately they go, your category is Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah. Which
I realized the answer to yours.
The only reason I knew, right. I knew the answer to Clark's because I work at Universal Studios, and a show that I host there, we have a pre-show, and they play trailers for upcoming Universal movies. And for about 6 months, they had the Sing trailer on a loop. So I just knew it was Matthew McConaughey. It wasn't to her, it wasn't me rubbing in her face like I knew that. It was just, and then there's Matthew McConaughey for my question. Yeah, it was fun. I'm glad I knew it because I didn't see that. I've never seen that movie, but I just remember Bill Paxton got such a acclaim for that movie. So it was, it was there. The 2, the 3, and the 5-point questions are very. It's tough because my 2-pointer, and this is talking to some other competitors, they made a really good point. They said for my 2-pointer, I had who directed The Witches of Eastwick. Mm-hmm. And even if you've seen that movie a couple times, you don't know the director. They're not on a poster. Their name is not attached to it really. And opposed to a 5-point, which Clark had, is, who played the girlfriend of Bill Murray. If you even see the movie once, she's on the poster, you know it. So and it's not against Clark. I could have gotten that if I picked that number. And the truth of the matter is, I would have picked those numbers because, and this is a little between you and I, watching all of Clark's matches, she always picks his 4, 12, and 19. That's her numbers. 4, 12, and 19. So if I won going into round 3, I was going to pick those just to kind of do a
mess with
head
her
game
mind
with her.
games.
Yeah, it is. It's skill, it's talent, and it's luck. So skill plays into it. Look at Action, man. They're so good at undermining people. And now going into the live event, seeing Rachel in a live setting will be interesting because she knows she gets frazzled. So, and Team Action thrives in that. So it plays into it. So I would have gotten that 5-point question. It's tough, and there are competitors, and we're trying to work this out with Christian and everyone, and kind of come up with a better way to what's a 2, what's a 3, and what's a 5. I don't remember what match it was with Team Action, where they had who's the villain in Spider-Man. It's just, and I think that was a 3-point question.
That was their first match with top 10.
Yeah, and come on, that's not a 3-point question. That's anyone that's seen any kind of trailer for that movie knows what that is.
Yeah.
But that's not on the competitors. That is not on the competitors. So it's not a dig against Clark, because she's dealing with some crap now about it, and you kind of out at them, and it's what I love is, and I have to agree with her. People are saying it's one of the best, or if not the best match so far of 2018, and she made me a better competitor. I had one of my strongest games. Sudden death for me. I would have loved to have won, of course, but it just is not for me that time.
So. Yeah, where was your head at when you realized you were going to sudden death?
Well, at this point, throughout the match, what started getting to me was, and I talked a little bit about the post-interview, I've seen people that were always cheering for me, cheering for her. And because this is what happens when you've got two quote-unquote good guys, but she's part of the Shire Wolves, so she's got all those people now. To see people like Rachel Cushing, who's one of my great friends, and I've met through this, and to see her cheering Clark every time she got a question right, that gets to you. The live environment gets to you, and that I'm glad it didn't affect my game. But it's and then I didn't have anyone there, so, and I could whine about that or whatever. But that again should not matter, but it does, and it's what makes the game so good.
Yeah, no, I can totally imagine where your head would be at if everyone's cheering for the other person.
It sucks.
Yeah.
See, like Riley, and Riley, that's his former teammate. Of course he's going to cheer for her. Usually when we're in the audience, you have a definitive person you hate and a definitive person you love. Anytime it's Team Action, everyone cheers against Action. Anytime it's the Patriots, I always cheer against Patriots. But when it's someone like Clark and I, it's
hard.
50-50.
It's hard. Yeah.
Yeah, she just more people there that day, so... But so we go to sudden death, and it's the second time I've been there. The other time was against Coy, which was my big debacle. Sudden death, I don't think I played it at that point. I'm like, I was still a little kind of bummed that was her 5-point question, the Karen Allen. But it refocused, and I was like, well, I'm not out of this. It's still in it. So here we go. And honestly, it was not even a question in my mind that it was Dustin Hoffman, and I was thinking of Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium, and I know that movie came out like 2007, so I knew Popper's Penguins is earlier.
It was actually later. Mr. Popper's Penguins was after,
2011. Yeah, I mean Megorium was earlier, much earlier.
Much earlier. I was like in elementary school still when it came out.
I know, and I remember. I should have known it because I remember getting used working at Universal. I would come down the street from Barham. Towards work, and there was a Mr. Popper's Penguins with him, and they're coming out the escalators or the elevators at him, and I should have known it. But I didn't question myself. I was like, oh, it's Dustin Hoffman.
Well, because you got advice earlier in the match not to second guess yourself.
Yeah.
Thanks,
dude.
Thanks, Rocco.
Dennis Hopper, right? Dennis Hopper and Easy Rider. Man, I had it. That was mine. I second guessed myself. I wrote it down. Asked for the JTE rule, erased what I had, and because I think we were talking about Midnight Cowboy earlier in the day, with I think Dennis Hopper directed that. So in my head, I just got up in my head. If I had not had that Easy Rider conversation, or I had not had that Midnight Cowboy conversation an hour earlier, I would have been fine. But
that's the nature of the game.
Yeah, I know.
So sadly, you lost, which was
I did. Yeah.
You will see when our reaction goes up. Difficult to watch. What's next? Like, are you gonna wait to see who Christian gives you, or is there someone you want to play? You know, what's next?
I don't know what I do now. I don't know as far as singles where I'm going. I'm 4-4 now. I don't know if this might take me out of the top 10 for ranking scores. I'm not sure how that's going to play out. There's a lot of young competitors that are now calling me out, but I don't know if Christian will. You know, it's a matter of got to work up to it. I think. You know, I don't know where they're going to go. I don't know where they're going to go with me. I do not have anyone that I would like to go against right now. I'm not calling anyone out. It's an interesting place because I know for a long time fans were not complaining, but they were saying that they weren't liking the new competitors, the storylines weren't there, and Christian had to get new people in. You know, we have to get new blood in there. But there's a couple people calling me out, so maybe that's where they're going to go. So we'll see.
So
yeah, I got a teams match coming up. I don't know if it's been announced yet. We haven't played.
If it's action, they dropped a video challenge today.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's where we're heading.
You know, which I love so much, the Schmoedown, because I literally had to watch my number 2 favorite competitor fight my number 3 favorite competitor. Now I get to watch my number 1 favorite team fight my number 3 favorite team. So, you know, the Schmoedown is just ever more helping take free with making me have to choose between favorites.
I'll say this. Action is a team I've wanted to face. God, it's
you
almost a year.
You guys have wanted them for a while.
It is. Before they went on, we would have got them if they didn't hit that rise right away. But not to talk trash about the boys. They've kind of fallen from grace. You know, they've had a nice steep decline there. I think it was 3 losses now in a row or something. But I think I just want to face them. I want to sit at those tables with those guys. I want to see what they're going to do. But we are coming off of a terrible loss. Adam and I, we have not played in a while. We haven't played since the tournament and had that really bad loss. So I don't know what's going to happen with that one. We'll see. We will see.
So the question I want to just end on here is, you talked about in your post-match interview about you singled in on one person in the crowd that kind of helped you. Any hint on who it is, possibly?
You know what? No, I'm not going to do it because I see that I don't read comments. I've learned early on in my Schmoedown career to not read comments because it set me off a path of just being mean, and I didn't want to do that. And I had gone off this Facebook page for a while. I didn't want to get involved in that because I was becoming kind of mean to people, and I didn't want to do that because I know it's hard because I know the fans are just doing it out of. There are some people that are just not good people.
Listen, there are some people who aren't good.
Yeah, and you guys, the guys that we see, guys a lot. I mean, you guys, people we see at the live matches. There's a select few that ruin it for everyone. But there's also people that they like to have fun with it. They like to be characters as well. So that's always fun. That's why I like the live events because they meet everyone and we can be ourselves. But I did go read these comments, and it was just really nice to see because I didn't know if I was going to get raked apart because of the loss, but just to see not just for Clark and for me, but the love of everybody. And I was like, wow, they're really supportive, and it was really kind of cool to see. But it is so great to see all the speculation. They think I'm joining the Horsemen, the Patriots. So I think I'm gonna. I don't know. My league wasn't there for this match for me. So that was very hurtful to see that no one was there. Would have been nice to have in my corner. Brianne wasn't there because she had family commitments. But I'm not going to single out that person because that was the only person in the entire room, big room full of people, and that one guy. And I didn't know that he or she was going to be on my side. And I just looked over, and every time I was either struggling or something, and I saw that they were doing this. They were like, calm down, you're good. And when I get like some tough questions, right? I always saw like the fist. So I was like, that person. I don't know if they want me to say anything, but I'm not going to say anything, and it could be revealed in the future. So, story, buddy, story.
Great. Yeah, the storylines. It's so great. I love it. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, of course, my friend. It's a pleasure to be here. Pleasure. I thank you guys, everyone, for watching and making the Schmoedown, because you guys have seen, and we make at the live events and stuff, and all the meetups. It's you guys are what make it. If it wasn't, it would be just a bunch of friends sitting around doing trivia at dinner or something. So it's it's the whole thing. It's the whole thing.
So where can the good people find you on the interwebs, Mike?
Twitter at Mike Kalinowski. I'm on Instagram, same thing, at Mike Kalinowski. Twitter is, I know, for some reason, everyone, I don't know if it's an age thing, people love Instagram over Twitter. I'm a Twitter guy.
No, I'm a Twitter guy too.
Yeah, I just love being able to talk more on that. So yeah, please reach out. I love talking to people on Twitter. I love, as much as I can, I try and get on that.
All right. Thank you again, Mike. And I'm going to send it back to you guys.
I'm 4-4 now. I don't know if this might take me out of the top 10 for ranking scores. I'm not sure how that's going to play out. There's a lot of young competitors that are now calling me out, but I don't know if Christian will. It's a matter of got to work up to it. I think. I don't know where they're going to go. I don't know where they're going to go with me. I do not have anyone that I would like to go against right now. I'm not calling anyone out. It's an interesting place because I know for a long time fans were not complaining, but they were saying that they weren't liking the new competitors, the storylines weren't there, and Christian had to get new people in. We have to get new blood in there. But there's a couple people calling me out, so maybe that's where they're going to go. So we'll see.
So
yeah, I got a teams match coming up. I don't know if it's been announced yet. We haven't played.
If it's action, they dropped a video challenge today.
Okay. I think that's where we're heading.
Which I love so much, this Schmoedown, because I literally had to watch my number 2 favorite competitor fight my number 3 favorite competitor. Now I get to watch my number 1 favorite team fight my number 3 favorite team. So, the Schmoedown is just ever more helping Take 3 with making me have to choose between favorites.
I'll say this. Action is a team I've wanted to face. God, it's
you
almost a year.
You guys have wanted them for a while.
It is. Before they went on we would have got them if they didn't hit that rise right away. But not to talk trash about the boys. They've kind of fallen from grace. They've had a nice steep decline there. I think it was 3 losses now in a row or something. But I think I just want to face them. I want to sit at those tables with those guys. I want to see what they're going to do. But we are coming off of a terrible loss. Adam and I, we have not played in a while. We haven't played since the tournament and had that really bad loss. So I don't know what's going to happen with that one. We'll see. We will see.
So the question I want to just end on here is, you talked about in your post-match interview about you singled in on one person in the crowd that kind of helped you. Any hint on who it is, possibly?
You know what? No, I'm not going to do it because I see that I don't read comments. I've learned early on in my Schmoedown career to not read comments because it set me off a path of just being mean, and I didn't want to do that. And I had gone off this Facebook page for a while. I didn't want to get involved in that because I was becoming kind of mean to people, and I didn't want to do that because I know it's hard because I know the fans are just doing it out of. There are some people that are just not good people. And
listen, there are some people who aren't good.
Yeah, and you guys, the guys that we see, guys a lot. I mean, you guys, people we see at the live matches. There's a select few that ruin it for everyone. But there's also people that they like to have fun with it. They like to be characters as well. So that's always fun. That's why I like the live events because they meet everyone and we can be ourselves. But I did go read these comments, and it was just really nice to see because I didn't know if I was going to get raked apart because of the loss, but just to see not just for Clark and for me, but the love of everybody. And I was like, wow, they're really supportive, and it was really kind of cool to see. But it is so great to see all the speculation. They think I'm joining the Horsemen, the Patriots. So I think I'm gonna. I don't know. My league wasn't there for this match for me. So that was very hurtful to see that no one was there. Would have been nice to have in my corner. Brianne wasn't there because she had family commitments. But I'm not going to single out that person because that was the only person in the entire room, big room full of people, and that one guy. And I didn't know that he or she was going to be on my side, and I just looked over, and every time I was either struggling or something, and I saw that they were doing this. They were like, calm down, you're good. And when I get like some tough questions right, I always saw like the fist. So I was like, that person, I don't know if they want me to say anything, but I'm not going to say anything, and it could be revealed in the future. So, story, buddy, story.
Great, yeah, the storylines. It's so great. I love it. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, of course, my friend. It's a pleasure to be here. Pleasure. I thank you guys, everyone, for watching and making the Schmoedown, because you guys have seen, and we make at the live events and stuff, and all the meetups. It's you guys are what make it. If it wasn't, it would be just a bunch of friends sitting around doing trivia at dinner or something. So it's it's the whole thing. It's the whole thing.
So where can the good people find you on the interwebs, Mike?
Twitter at Mike Kalinowski. I'm on Instagram, same thing, at Mike Kalinowski. Twitter is, I know, for some reason, everyone, I don't know if it's an age thing, people love Instagram over Twitter. I'm a Twitter guy.
No, I'm a Twitter guy too.
Yeah, I just love being able to talk more on that. So yeah, please reach out. I love talking to people on Twitter. I love, as much as I can, I try and get on that.
All right. On Tuesday, we have the return of critically acclaimed versus superhero news. Chris Bibiani is coming off of that performance in Free For All 2. And Whitney's coming off a pretty good performance too. Do you think this is going to drive critically acclaimed to victory?
I think it should, but I don't trust the critically acclaimed team. I mean, I don't know why, but they have like some kind of choking factor here in the Schmoedown. It's like a character flaw, I would say. But I think they're going to get over it. It's time that they rolled up their sleeves and they got to work and proved that they are one of the most dominant. They should be one of the most dominant teams in the league. But that comes down to a conversation that always happens. That two great players, they don't make a great team necessarily. So who knows what happens? But I'm confident that they deserve a second and a third chance as far as proving their worth.
Our takes, should you badmouth critically acclaimed William Bibiani, Whitney Seibold, or Robert Meyer Burnett? Just what do you think is going to happen in this match? Do you think critically acclaimed is going to walk away with it? Or do you think Superhero News is going to try and stake their claim by beating critically acclaimed?
Yeah, I mean, I think critically acclaimed have got this. Because Superhero News, they were a great team. I mean, but they didn't really have that much of a stellar performance. But in saying that, they could surprise us and do a World's Finals and actually take out an established team. So just have to wait to see. But I do have critically acclaimed for this.
I also have critically acclaimed for this. I just think the way they both performed in Free For All is going to propel them to kind of. They want to be considered one of the best teams. I think it annoys them, and I think it's going to drive them. So I think they're going to win. Friday is a big day this week. We have a double header. The first match is Matt Nost versus Ken Knapsack, which is this month's Patreon match. So if you are someone who is patron of I believe it is now the $5 tier, you have access to this match already. So if you're watching this and you didn't know that, go and watch this match. But for the rest of us, we have to wait until Friday. Chris, I know I went first with you last time, but I know you're a huge Ken Knapsack fan. I also know you're a big Matt Nost fan. So I'm going to do what Take 3 did to me and make you choose between your two favorites. Who do you think's walking away in this match?
Just for the record, I want to say that they should announce these matches the previous month, because it was already April when I learned that the match of the month was Knapsack versus Nost. And I'm like, oh my God, I need to pledge more money. I pledged more money, but unfortunately that goes into effect by May 1st. By May 1st, so I'm not going to be able to see the match earlier. But, it's a heartbreaking match for me. But again, I'm watching two of my favorite characters in general, and people in general play against each other on my birthday, which is going to be May 4th. So I'm content with any result. And if I have to choose between them, I love Ken, but on a Schmoedown setting, I would go with Matt Nost, because Top 10 has my loyalty forever and ever.
Listen, I love Ken Knapsack one time. I really think he's shaping up to be a great heel, but I'm a Nost guy, and I really am you know what? As someone who in recent months has really become a big top 10 show fan, my want for Nost and Roca in singles to perform and teams to perform really well has kind of just shot up. So I really also, just after what Ken did to Rachel, I just want him to continually pay over and over in whatever way it is. I want to continually pay for that Blofeld's cat match. Malcolm, who do you think is walking away with the victory in this match?
I think it's going to be Matt Nost, because I think, like, when he first started playing in singles, I've always didn't think he put up a good performance, but I think he's gotten a lot better since then and has shown that he does know. I think the other thing is, I think this is Ken's first non-Star Wars singles match that he's had in a while, so it'll be interesting to see how well he still knows the other aspects of movies as well.
Yes, he has not played in a non-Star Wars singles match since JTE last year, and just look at how things change in a year, people. But of course, doubleheader's got to have 2 matches. And boy, oh, we get another Lions Den versus top 10 match with Jeff Snyder versus John Roca. Now, this match has been building since end of part 1 in Spectacular 1, in which Jeff Snyder, and I believe I might be paraphrasing, but it might be the exact quote, which is, Roca, I don't care if you beat Riley or not. I want a piece of you somewhere down the line. And I'm going to say this. I am glad they did not schedule that match for last season. Seeing what has happened between Patriots and top 10 has just been building to this. And now that John Roca's goal in the Schmoedown is to just beat all the members of the Lions Den. He is beating JT. Snyder is next. Malcolm, who do you think is walking away with the victory? Do you think the Outlaw is going to take it, or do you think the Snyder is going to avenge the loss of his teammate?
I think that John Roca definitely wants it the most, and I think he's also going to take away the win, because I think he's driven, and I think he wants revenge on Snyder for the whole respin incident as well. So yeah, I mean, I like Jeff, and I think he does have the knowledge, but Roca, I think's got more.
Yeah, I think Snyder and Roca are both really good, but I think in this case, I think Roca has a little bit more of the drive, which I think might propel him. I don't think, and that's not saying Jeff doesn't have a drive in this case, but I just feel like Roca he wants to go on a tear. He wants to really beat the Lions Den. So I'm going to ask a really silly question here. Chris, who do you want to win this match?
Look, Snyder, we're coming for you. You're going to pay for every single challenge you have issued against Team Top 10. We're going to break you, and then we're going to break Dagnino, and then we're going to break everyone that stands in our way to the title. And that's it.
Don't you have Dagnino as your Facebook profile picture?
Well, that being said, outside the Schmoedown, I like all of these guys. But inside the Schmoedown, no one goes against Team Top 10 and survives. With all their trickery, this is not going to save them when they go 1-1 with John Roca.
It's going to be a heck of a match. Oh crap! I also just realized as I look at my notes, and Abe, I apologize. So Abe, you're gonna want to put this part right after we talk about Mike versus Clark. So I'm sorry, man. But I had a chance to sit down with Mike Kalinowski and talk about his match with Clark Wolf. So we're going to go to that right now.
So
all right, now I'm sorry.
When was that filmed? Was that filmed already? Or?
Weekend.
Okay, good.
It has not been filmed yet, so I can't tell you things he said. All right, now I'm just trying to remember. Okay. All right. Thank you, Mike, so much for doing it. Now we're going to get into next week's matches. God, Abe, I apologize. It's my first time with notes. I don't come here prepared usually. Kristen does. All right, so now let's move on to the news segment. The only bit of news we have, which was actually announced fairly recently, I think maybe Wednesday, maybe Thursday, Christian Harloff has said there are going to be 5 Inner Geekdom singles matches. And the winners of those 5 will play in a 5-way. And the winner of that 5-way will play Jason Inman for the title. Chris, if you can pick one competitor that you want in one of these singles matches, who would it be?
I would definitely want to see Mike Kalinowski be part of the Inner Geekdom once again. I think he got a little bit shafted the last time that he was part of the Inner Geekdom. So I think it's a good opportunity for him to regain a little bit of his strength. And I really like the idea of the 5 ways because that gives an opportunity for the league to grow and for Christian and Thad to cast a wider net and get a lot of people that might become the next superstars.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm really happy that these are going to be singles matches because the Inner Geekdom has been doing a lot of 5-ways. And I get why, because 5-ways, you are literally introducing 5 new competitors every time. But I'm really glad that, because one of my favorite matches of all time is Rachel versus Mike, their Inner Geekdom match, because it was so good. I really like when we get 2 people who know their Inner Geekdom stuff just going head to head. So I definitely, of course, as a big Mike Kalinowski fan, as someone who I go, that guy's record in Inner Geekdom does not reflect his performance in Inner Geekdom. I want to see him back. I also would like to see Robert Meyer Burnett get in on one of these. I feel like Rob just got a little bit of bad luck last season. I really hope if he could play someone and win, this could sort of push him back up. But Malcolm, who would you like to see in one of these singles matches?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people. I mean, I'd like to see Rachel Cushing maybe get back in the Inner Geekdom fray. And I think there's Sarah Stretton. I think there's talks of her joining the Inner Geekdom League, so maybe we see her pop up in one of these as well.
Definitely. There's a lot of great people in the Inner Geekdom. I'm assuming if scheduling works out, I feel like Donica versus Jay probably will be one of these matches. I don't know. I'm assuming. But before we end off the episode, we are going to go over to the most annoying person in my life, Vinny, with the fantasy updates. Vinny, take it away. Thank you, Vinny, for continually not paying rent to me. All right, so this was a great episode. Chris, where can the good people find you out on the interwebs?
I am. I'm in the top 10 group on Facebook and in the movie trivia Schmoedown group page. This is where I usually spend most of my time online. So I would be happy to welcome you in any of those groups. And
Malcolm, where can the good people find you?
You can find me on my own personal YouTube channel, Malcolm's Middle Earth Media, and also on various take-free things. I'm on Twitter, Letterboxd, Stardust, @Malcor.
And you guys, as always, can find me at Kearns_Matthew on Twitter, MattMoves611 on YouTube, and right here hosting Take 3's Second Look, new episode is going to be dropping. This episode drops on Monday. New episode is going to be dropping that upcoming Sunday. It's going to be a discussion on Phantom Menace, which is this month's May's movie. You can also catch me on May 5th. There's going to be the second live Suddenly Soundtracks episode. It's going to be me, Chris Clark, and head Schmoedown question writer Chris Liskey, and we're going to be counting down our top 10 Star Wars compositions. You can also find me every Thursday hosting Throwback Thursday trailer reactions. Really fun show. And as always, you can find me on the summit. Don't worry, Kristen Smith's going to be back next week. I want to thank Chris and Malcolm again for being here, and I want you guys to give this video a thumbs up. Put a comment down, share it around. Word of mouth helps us. You can follow Take 3 on Twitter at Take 3 Video. Please subscribe to us. We have a lot of great content here. Great week in the Schmoedown. Next week's probably going to be another great week, and as always, Take 3 is going to be here recapping it. So until then, take care.
Yo, what's up? It's Vinny here for the fantasy updates, okay? So let's talk about it. In first place, we got Super Epic X Team with 264 points. Pretty freaking sweet. Then in second place, we got Immortan Gen Schmo Boys with 244 points. Pretty good, pretty good. In third place, we got Team Quaggies with 225 points. Fourth place, we got the Penguins, okay, them Penguins, with 179 points. Fifth place, we got Tiny Cats. Tiny Cats. That's a name I've caught some guys before. And Tiny Cats got 149 points. In sixth place, we got that loser Matt, the Yodi Alliance, with 124 points. Oh my god. And then in last place, we got that Movie Geek with only 105 points. Someone didn't choose well. So, yeah. I'm going to say Tiny Kids, Yodi Alliance, and that Movie Geek are more fighting amongst themselves. Everyone else, Penguins, Corgis, Schmo Boys, and Super Epic X Team, they're fighting for number one, and it's fairly close. So this season should be interesting. So that's it for your fantasy update. Because no one's trading. Why would anyone trade? They got good teams. So you can follow me, Vinny, on Twitter at Vinny Stallone76. I tweet a lot about Stallone. Don't at me.